Hi there, this is Gary Ryan Blair, and in this lesson titled, The High Cost of Selling Your Soul, we're going to focus on the enormous impact of both environmental and psychological hazards, so that you do not allow yourself to sell your soul, so that you're not persuaded to do something, especially something bad, because of the money or the reward that you will receive because of doing it. Now, let's begin with a question. Have you ever wondered what it means to be a canary in the coal mine? You see, life for a canary in a coal mine can best be described with 3 words. Short, but meaningful. See, the mining occupation has always been among the most hazardous, largely due to its poor ventilation systems. So the solution is rather simple. Bring a yellow canary down to the mine with you. You might ask why. Well, it's actually quite simple. See, canaries are especially sensitive to methane and carbon monoxide, which make them ideal for detecting any dangerous gas buildups. And as long as the bird kept singing, the miners knew that their air supply was safe. And a dead canary, on the other hand, signaled an immediate evacuation, as in, drop everything and run for the exit. Now, lest you're wondering if I finally stepped off the curb in oncoming traffic, I'd encourage you to see this message through to its conclusion, as this specific message is meant to serve as an early warning signal, one that could very well save you from becoming the canary in your very own coal mine. So let's talk about occupational hazards and how people sell their soul. See, an occupational hazard is defined as a working condition that could lead to physical or psychological pain and even death in some cases. And all occupations have hazards, as we're stating that. And there are 4. There are 4 specific types of occupational hazards. They're as follows. The first are chemical hazards. This is exposure to chemical substances that cause injury when they're absorbed through the skin and inhaling or even ingesting. As a result, people may suffer from respiratory diseases, skin diseases, allergy, heart disease, cancer, and neurological disorders. The second type of hazard are biological hazards. These hazards are manifested by diseases caused by bacteria, fungi, viruses, insects, dietary deficiencies, excessive drinking, allergies, brain fever, imbalances, and tetanitis. All of these tell upon a person's health. The third hazard are environmental hazards. Environmental hazards may include noise, air, and water pollution. They may even include vibration and shocks, radiation, excessive heat and cold, heights, and unstable flooring, as well as poor ventilation. These hazards can cause redness of eyes, genetic disorders, cancer, sterility, hearing loss, nerve injury, and many types of physical pain. Now the big one, the one I want to spend most of our time on, are psychological hazards. These type of hazards include stresses caused by various stressors, such as task and role demands, organizational leadership, unfocused goals, deadlines, and quotas, lack of group cohesion, interpersonal conflicts, value conflicts, bias and bigotry, sexual harassment, bullying of any type, rapid technological changes, as well as life and career changes. See, these type of hazards lead to emotional disturbances which impact self-esteem, self-worth, enthusiasm, and peace of mind, and which in turn lead to energy depletion, physical exhaustion, impaired health, and in some cases, even suicide. Now, for the purpose of this message, we are going to focus on the enormous impact of both environmental and psychological hazards, so that you do not allow yourself to be persuaded to do something, to sell your soul, especially something bad, because the money or the reward that you would receive in order to do it. So let's navigate the obstacles, the predators, and the bad actors. See, people tend to think that they have a strong character, and that this character of theirs will endure no matter the situation. Well, I've got news for you. It's not really so. See, we're all highly vulnerable to the incentives and the behaviors of our environment. And often the best that a person can do if they want to behave in a certain manner is to choose carefully the environment that will go to work on his or her character. See, an occupational hazard of the influencer crowd or the YouTuber, for instance, is that she becomes the sort of person who, in their desperate need to remain relevant, says whatever she thinks will get her the most attention, the most likes, and the most shares, rather than what she knows to be true, to be tasteful, educational, and informative. She sells herself out so often that she forgets the difference. And an occupational hazard for anyone in the social media or the news business is that in their rush to be the first to break the news and to obtain bragging rights, that they place speed ahead of accuracy and in doing so, they forsake their journalistic responsibilities. An additional occupational hazard for people in those industries is that they choose to censor opposing views. They choose to suppress First Amendment rights. They choose to share opinions and personal biases rather than factual reporting. And in some cases, they even manufacture news to accommodate their agenda. By engaging in these behaviors, they have in fact sold their souls. They undermine their own credibility, they've compromised their integrity, and they have placed seeds of doubt in the minds of their viewers. Let me provide you with a few more examples. See, an occupational hazard for someone who works for an undisciplined, unenthusiastic, unfocused, or morally deficient manager or company is that they lower their standards, they conform to mediocrity, and they simply waste some of the best years of their lives. Also, an occupational hazard for a politician is that by taking money from lobbyists, they immediately become yes men, nothing more than paid-for puppets and pawns. And by accepting favors or by engaging in unethical or, in some cases, even illegal behavior, they reduce themselves to being mere servants for the private interest of their dark-paying masters. In effect, they become seduced by the power and the privilege of the office, and they spend more time focused on getting reelected and less time on serving the needs of the very people who voted for them. These people not only sell their soul to the devil, but they've also sold out their country and their countrymen. This is a global and a systemic problem, much like cancer. The occupational hazards of being a CEO or even a board member for a public corporation is that the temptation when deciding how to behave wind up placing too little weight on long-term decisions and far too much weight on short-term quarterly goals and appeasing shareholders' greedy demands for a quick profit. And for those in a position of power and influence, and I'm talking about any type of power and influence to include charities, entertainment, education, climate, medical, law, and even the church, an occupational hazard is to believe that they're beyond reproach. And rather than using their power and influence to serve, to help, to empower, and to lift up others, they do the exact opposite. They intimidate, they bully, they harass, they control, and they even destroy. An occupational hazard for an ambitious young person who goes to work at an investment banking firm is that they become easily corrupted by the system and they sell their soul faster than a speeding bullet. And rather than build a life of substance, of value and contribution, they soon go to work gaming rating companies, selling stocks that they would never buy themselves, and designing securities to fail so that they might make a killing off the investors that they dupe into buying them. These people actively go to work on rigging various markets at the expense of the wider society, and they encourage all sorts of people to do stuff with their capital and their companies that they have absolutely no business doing. Now let me be absolutely clear on this next point. The billionaire technocrats who track your every move, who censor your voice and who ban you from their platforms, they have all sold out. They exist for one reason: to serve and to fulfill the agenda of their dark masters. And this also goes for the bought and paid for millionaire politicians, media personalities, and opinion leaders that they employ, because these people do not care about preserving humanity. They're not the least bit interested in serving their community, nor do they give a rat's ass about saving our planet. They have sold their soul to the devil and view you and I as nothing more than useless eaters, things to control, manipulate, destroy, and discard. And whenever these people engage in any kind of public service, when they give to charity or perform any kinds of kindness, always, by the way, with the camera rolling, it has absolutely nothing to do with benevolence, and it has everything to do with enhancing their public image and their fortunes. And this is something that many who worship the rich, the professional athletes, and the entertainers simply do not understand. That the global elite have all made a deal with the devil. They've sold their souls and they only care about themselves, about controlling others, and adding to their own personal wealth. So let's talk about saving your soul, about not conforming, about what is it that you can do in order to protect yourself. See, the intense pressure to conform, to not make waves, to simply go along with the accepted norm has got to be one of the most depressing experiences of life. A true occupational hazard, and it's a trap that far too many of us have fallen victim to. You got to remember that what you put up with, you will end up with. That's why you must understand that the greatest influence on your life is your environment, and environment is everything. See, the environment we find ourselves in affects our moods, it affects our ability to form relationships, it affects our effectiveness at work and play, our health, our earning ability, our grades in school, peace of mind, self-confidence, attitudes, our belief system, your environment impacts everything. Now, I want you to imagine yourself in an environment where you're challenged, where you're supported and feel more alive than you have in years. I want you to imagine yourself in an environment where your talents are nurtured, where risk-taking was encouraged, and where passion and creativity is unleashed. I want you to imagine yourself in an environment where integrity, where honor and doing the right thing was applauded, where transparency was truly transparent, and where trust, where integrity and respect were the only acceptable norms of behavior. Now, I want you to imagine yourself in an environment that reinforces the mindset you need, that helps you drive the results that you want, and which encourages you to take the necessary steps in order to live the life that you deserve. Just think about it. Wouldn't you feel like you could do anything? The world was your proverbial oyster, that no force on earth could possibly stop, spook, or slow you down. See, it's time to recapture your passion, your playfulness, your curiosity, and your inner strength to transform and to fast-track absolutely anything that you want in life. Now, as mentioned earlier, we're all highly vulnerable to the incentives and the behaviors of our environment. And often the best that we can do if we want to behave in a certain manner is to choose carefully the environment that will go to work on our character. See, a large part of being successful in life depends upon each one of us utilizing and managing our environment to assist us in living a life of excellence and of personal mastery. So I want you to watch yourself, protect yourself, love yourself, and be very aware of falling victim to occupational hazards. Because if you don't, you'll quickly suck the oxygen and the integrity out of your character, and you will become the canary in your very own coal mine.